Hey everyone, so in today's video, we are going to be ranking every single product that I have tried from KOSAS. So KOSAS is doing their friends and family sale right now. It's like 20% off everything, at least, at the time of filming this. So I thought it would be a really good time to share with you guys the products that I really love and then the products that I would personally skip. But there will be a bit of nuance because we are going to be doing a tier list. So I'm going to be rating them S through D. I'm really excited because I can feel that there's a product for like every tier. This idea actually came from Jamie Page, who we know so well and love. And she typically does this with like a variety of different categories. She's ranked like every product from Fenty before, so I will leave that video down below in case you guys are interested. But yeah, I think we should just go ahead and get into it. I'm wearing a lot of the products I'm going to talk about on my face today. So it looks like I put 2 of the 10-second eyeshadows up here, so we might as well start and rank that one. So I'm actually wearing the shade Blaze today. No, that's not right. Blaze. I'm wearing the shade Blaze on my eyes today. I did top it with the Makeup by Mario Crystal Reflector just to give it a little bit of a wet effect. But these are the new and reformulated version of the KOSAS 10-second eyeshadows. It is a liquid shadow. It comes in a variety of like super wearable shades. I was really excited to see what KOSAS would do with this reformulation. If you guys aren't familiar with the original formula, it was this really beautiful liquidy, almost kind of watercolor kind of liquid shadow. I had not used and still haven't used another formula quite like it. I actually think it's a really beautiful and unique formula. And when KOSAS said that they were going to reformulate, I was kind of excited because I thought that some of the shades were a little bit lackluster and others were really beautiful. I really liked Copper Halo as well as Globe from the original formula. Came out with all new shades. Some were supposed to kind of line up with those old shades, but in reality, because the formula has changed, it's not really possible to kind of translate a color into this formula and have it kind of give the same effect, because these are actually way closer to a liquid to powder formula than they are a true cream kind of liquid shadow. So again, I wore Blaze on my eyes today just to get reacclimated with the formula. In the past, I have told you guys that I wasn't really a fan, and it's just because they look a little bit lackluster in the eyes. It really does feel like you're just kind of putting on a powder eyeshadow, and for the price of them, which, the price isn't crazy, but I think that there are other liquid shadows that just give you such a gorgeous effect, really creamy and emollient, and have that gorgeous reflection. So I would way rather recommend some of those other options to you guys than this. Again, they do look okay, but it's just not a product that I ever reach for. And of course, I got something in my eye. I feel like KOSAS is mad at me. Sorry, y'all. It's not a favorite. So I am going to put it into C tier. And I'm gonna stick this other one, this double that I have in here for some reason. Alrighty, next up, let's talk about the KOSAS Revealer Foundation. Now, when they said that they were going to release this foundation, I knew I was going to be picking it up. I have 3 different shades from the initial launch, and I'm wearing the shade 100 on my face today. It is a touch too light for me, but I really like the undertone. I did recently do a video on my channel, my top 3 products in every category video, and spoiler alert, this was featured. All right, let me break this down. This product is insanely beautiful. It adds such a gorgeous medium coverage that looks fresh on the skin, and it also has a way of truly looking like skin while being a more emollient kind of medium coverage product. It really adds that incredible good skin day quality look to the skin. It does have a touch of a blur. It's really nice and fresh and dewy on the skin, but it's not one of those products that, again, is going to look really heavy because it's so dewy. Whenever my skin is having trouble, I know that this is going to look good. And I find that my Holy Grail products end up looking good on my skin despite the skin day that I'm having. And that is something with makeup that is incredibly difficult to do, you guys. We cannot expect makeup to erase our texture, you know, erase any fine lines, acne marks. It's not really fair to expect makeup to do that. And then a product like this comes onto the scene, and my skin can be flaking, it can be a little bit dehydrated, I can have some decent acne, which I do have some, you know, post-acne marks in this area right now, and it does such an incredible job with these things that I'm dealing with. And that is when a product for me becomes S tier. So this is one of my top picks from KOSAS, period. It's the shit. Now, we did talk about how this is definitely more of a luminous product, so maybe right to talk about the KOSAS Cloud Set. And I just realized I don't even have it on here. Anyway, we're still going to rank it. It just won't be on the tier list. So the KOSAS Cloud Set, this is the shade Airy. I was incredibly excited for this launch as well because I was wondering how it would pair specifically with the KOSAS Revealer Concealer, which we'll talk about in a second. I am not a huge powder person. Typically, I skip powder. Today, I did put a little bit of the Cloud Set on, and then I ended up putting a glowy mist over it, so I feel like they kind of canceled each other out. Nevertheless, this powder is extremely finely milled. I don't know if you guys have seen on their Instagram, they have showed like the process of making this, and the conveyor belt just kind of like bloops out this little like souffle looking piece of powder, and then it like bakes. It's very, very satisfying. But once you see the product, you can definitely like understand how that happens because it's just so smooth and baked, and it really, I mean, it feels like a powder, but it kind of quickly in the fingers melts in, and the same thing happens on the skin. So I actually really love this for very softly kind of pinpoint powdering the face if I just want to take down shine in a few different areas without it looking like a really heavy layer of powder. Because this is so thin and finely milled, it does a really good job of not creating that layer of powder above the foundation. However, unfortunately, I don't like this for under my eyes, and you will come to find in my next spiel, I am extremely picky with product that goes under my eyes. And I just find that it just kind of makes them look darker. And I don't think that it's kind of changing the color of the concealer. I tend to find that some powders just can go back and exaggerate the hollowness that I have. Jeez, I've had like the same eyelash in my eye, and it is not budging. Yeah, it just tends to re-exaggerate those hollows under my eyes, and it makes for, in general, not an S tier product. And ultimately, I'm not super jazzed about repurchasing a powder product that I can't use all over the face, because I'd like to have the option, even if I don't take it a lot. If I were to place the image, which is not here, if I were to place it somewhere, it would be in the B tier. I feel like I can't put it in A or S tier because of that under eye situation. And speaking of the under eyes, let's just get on with it. Let's go. Please forgive me for ranting about the KOSAS Revealer Concealer yet again. But as I mentioned before, the KOSAS Revealer Concealer, one of the only concealers that I put under my eyes, and it is my everyday go-to. And the reason why is that it has managed to check the box of gorgeous medium coverage, check the box of being incredibly hydrating under the eyes while also being smoothing. So that box is checked. It reflects light in a way under the eyes, and this is a big check. It reflects light under the eyes in a way that helps to brighten and kind of conceal any hollowness that you have, which, if you have hollowness under your eyes, you know that there are other concealers that can be hydrating, that can give you a really pretty medium coverage or even full coverage or light coverage. I mean, there are so many concealers that are hydrating and have nice coverage, but they don't do anything for a deep set eye, for a hollow. Sometimes they can even make it look more distracting or distinctive. And that's something that I definitely notice across the board with the, I'm telling you, probably 100 concealers that I've tried. This is the only one that manages to take that hollow and just smooth it out a little bit and really conceal it. It is not an easy task. I still don't know how they did it. And I'm telling you right now that if I had to pick like 3 products from my entire collection to have, like 3 makeup products, this would 100% be one of them. Maybe the only makeup product that I would pick. By the way, I have the shade 2.5C under my eyes, but 1.5C is like my perfect shade. I've bought at least 6 of these. Next up, all right, let's talk about their bronzer, which I don't have anymore, but I have tried it. The first thing I noticed about this bronzer when I picked it up was the packaging. So the packaging just has this really gorgeous kind of sea glass look to it. So it's kind of like the Cloud Set, except it has this green tinge to it. It's really insanely beautiful. Like, that compact, to me, you know when you just see those makeup items with such incredible packaging, like my brain would have never put together the idea of holding like a makeup product within sea glass. Like, it just, that to me, I love that about makeup. I think it's really cool. It gets me very excited. So that made it really disappointing when I tried out the bronzer and I didn't like the way it looked. So this bronzer felt like it looked really choppy on the skin. There were just areas where I felt like it wanted to stick, other areas where I felt like it didn't want to stick. It's also quite sparkly. And you know what? I typically would expect that to be an issue with more of a matte bronzer, but this to me felt both chalky and sparkly. It just was not a good formula for me. I would much rather KOSAS reformulate this and come out with it in more of a matte formula that is closer to the Cloud Set rather than this kind of shimmery, luminous powder bronzer. Or, I mean, I feel like it's due time for KOSAS to come out with a cream bronzer of some sort. I feel like I'm gonna have to put this in D tier. You know, I don't think it's awful, which I feel like D tier is kind of like awful, but like I would never recommend it to anyone. And I don't know if I can see people liking it. I don't know. Oh, we're just gonna put it in D tier. Okay, so next up, let's talk about these cream duos from KOSAS. So this was one of the first products that I tried out from KOSAS. Really was this gorgeous emollient product that I felt, especially, you know, at the time of release, was so perfect for that really dewy, creamy cheek look. I loved that there was both the highlight and the blush added. I had the shade Tropic Equinox, and I would kind of use it as like a bronzer kind of, you know, blush bronzer combo, and it was very, very pretty. But the highlight was a touch too dark for me. There were other formulas that I feel like just gave a little bit more, like had a higher kind of cosmetic elegance to it. You know, other formulas were both emollient and a little bit more long wearing, or they were super creamy and had a really nice shade, but they were a touch thinner, so they worked with more formulas. So this, I think, is not a bad product at all, but I do feel like it's kind of outdated. So I am going to put it in, I'm gonna put it in C tier because I wouldn't go out and repurchase it right now. Is it a bad product? No, I think it just is what it is. I just realized I didn't put the KOSAS Tinted Face Oil on here either. I don't know what is going through my head. So let's just talk about the KOSAS Tinted Face Oil now that we're on the subject of it. Again, at the time of its release, I think that it was a really interesting product, and I actually really liked it at the initial release. Though I even felt like then it was one of those products that was a bit finicky. And in general, when it comes to base products, if something tends to lean more finicky, long term, it's not going to be a product that I know I'm going to reach for and repurchase. And that unfortunately ended up being the case with. I love that it's kind of this dry face oil formula. It really kind of meshes into the skin well and kind of sinks down and gives you this freshness, you know, that fresh skincare kind of look. But then there would be times when I would wear it and it would just sink into every pore. And it was really difficult for me to ever understand why some days it would look good, some days it would not. So it was both very emollient, being that it is an oil, but also super, super thin. You know, that kind of classic dry oil texture. That made it, I think that kind of dichotomy made it really awkward to work with as far as other products. Even with like their classic cream blush texture, putting that on top of such a thin formula to me doesn't really make sense. As a whole, I would put that down into C tier with these. Okay, next, let's talk about the KOSAS Sport, their deodorant. And this is the beach scent because this is the scent that I have. This was kind of my first journey into AHA deodorants. I actually do use a benzoyl peroxide washes on like my armpits just to, you know, keep everything fresh. That is a hack, if you will, that you guys should definitely try because I certainly think that it does work if you don't want to use like aluminum deodorant. This one does a nice job. I don't think that it's one of those clean deodorants that I think works just as well as aluminum though. I really like that the formula is more of a serum texture with that roller ball. It goes on really easily. It doesn't stain my clothes or look awkward on the armpits as you wear it, which, you know, some deodorants can kind of get those like little chunky bits as you continue to wear them. So I really love that about it. Is it like completely smell proof? No. Will I use it up? Yes. Will I repurchase? That is maybe up in the air. So, and the only reason why is that I'm just kind of interested in seeing if there's another one that can do it better. You know what I mean? Not because this is bad. So I'm gonna put this into B tier. Alrighty, now let's talk about the KOSAS Wet Lip Oil. And I am wearing it on my lips, though it has faded a bit. So I could apply more. First of all, this is the shade Dip. I always love this packaging. Love it. It feels like very 90s living room, interesting looking coffee table vibe. Anyway, so I initially fell in love with this for the scent alone. It smells like orange creamsicle. It's just pretty delightful. I also love the applicator because it's more thin and pointed, which I really like because if you're someone with more thin lips, it helps with accuracy. You know, sometimes it's really nice to have a big fat applicator just for speed, but if you want more accuracy, then you might want something like this. Something that I wasn't impressed though with this lip oil is that I wished, you know, every time I wore it, I wished that it kind of filled in the lines of my lips more and kind of offered that water droplet effect. And though this is shiny, it doesn't do that for me. However, and something that I remembered when I put it on today, my lips have been going through it, you guys. I've been trying out a ton of lip plumpers and already I tend to have more dry lips. So my lips, they've been going through it. And I remembered how hydrated my lips feel after I wear this, how nourished they feel. That is really not the case with a lot of lip oils out there. This actually feels like it's doing something and it's not kind of sinking into the lips and then like kaput, it doesn't really do much. So I really, really like that about this. I also have realized that they have like a clear one and they have this really jelly looking like berry shade, and this is more of a creamy kind of lip oil shade And I'm wondering how the more like translucent colors look. So for me personally, I feel like during the sale, I'm going to pick up some of them. So I'm going to put this into, you know what? I'm going to put it into B tier. But if I try out the new shades and they're like really good, then I would move this on up to A tier. Next, the KOSAS brow gels. So I'm going to talk about like both of these really fast. I'm wearing the clear one in my brows today. I think that this is one of the best clear brow gels out there. I love the fluff without it being really harsh. So this to me is just a great brow gel for those of you that like a really soft kind of hold. You don't want something that's like laminated kind of look. At least in my opinion, I don't think it works that way. At least not on my brows. I mean, I have like thicker, coarser brow hairs. I like that you can kind of build it up as well, and it's not going to get flaky. Like this is not one of those brow gels that flakes on you. But I think it's gonna be one of those products that you either like that about it or you don't. Like if you want that super uber strong hold, probably not your best bet. However, if you're like me and you like a little bit of a fluffier brow, then I think that you'll really like this. So I'm going to put this into A tier, and I'm also going to put the tinted version in A tier as well because I love that one. I need to repurchase it. I typically do not just do a tinted brow gel and call it a day. I do prefer a pencil. I just like the accuracy, but that is one of the only ones that I've been like, wow, that really gives you a lot of volume. It gives you a lot of color without it being super messy and chunky looking in the brows. It's able to give me that strong volume. That is a good one. I will say though that I forget what happened. I think I dropped it on the floor or something and it broke and like the top came off, so it became like really difficult to use. So I don't know if there's advice there, like don't drop it, but I guess don't drop it. And let's talk about this Plump and Juicy Collagen Lip Boost from KOSAS. So something, I feel like I've had like hair all over me today. Like an eyelash, dog hair on my nose. Anyway, this product has been very confusing for me because I feel like even revisiting the wet lip oil from KOSAS, this is way more hydrating. I feel like my lips are in better condition wearing this than they are with this, which, you know, this is supposed to be a plumping lip balm kind of product. And I just find that it does not plump much. It has a very slight tingle. It doesn't really feel nourishing or super hydrating on the lips either. I do love the smell. It does have that creamsicle kind of smell like the wet lip oils do. And I like that it's a plumping lip balm. I'd love to see more products like this on the market. And again, in my upcoming lip plumper overview, I am talking about those few finds that I was able to pick up and try. But this was not top of the list, at least now it's not. So I'm going to put this into C tier because I don't think it's so bad that it's D, but it's not impressive. Next, let's talk about the brow pencil, the Air Brow Pencil. I don't have this anymore. I thought I did. This is a very good basic brow pencil. I really have no complaints with it. I like that it has a nice kind of precise triangle applicator. It's not too thick, which I feel like a lot of brands come out with like those huge triangle brow pencils and it just isn't great for getting like a brow-like, hair-like stroke. But I know that there are others like my AOA that are like $1 that I love. So is this a bad product? No, not at all. And I love that there are so many different shades. So if you feel like this is a formula that you would really like, if there's a shade that you think really works well for you, I think that the formula is really good, but I'm not going to repurchase it myself. So I'm going to put it into B. Next, let's talk about the Big Clean Mascara. You know what? This is another one of those KOSAS products that I really like, but I just wouldn't repurchase. I think that that kind of becomes the crux of the issue with some makeup. Like, I want to recommend products that I would be like, yes, 100% will repurchase, and I think they're really beautiful. This is a little bit of a drier formula, so it has a really nice buildable volume to it. It's nice and fluffy. I do wish that it were a little bit more black. There are just other formulas that I think are better, but I don't think that this is a bad item either. So for that reason, I'm going to put it into B tier. And lastly, we have their lipsticks. So looks like this is a used up lipstick. Super, super creamy, beautiful emollient texture. But I picked up one that was like a deep red, and those two things don't go well together. I would honestly be interested in retrying the formula in a different shade. I've heard like really good things about the shade Vegas, for example. I think the formula itself is really nice and rich, great pigmentation, and I do really like the shades as well. You don't really want a red that's that rich and emollient, so I'm going to go off of that experience. I think I'm going to put this into, I'm kind of going back and forth between C and B. I'm gonna go and put it into B because when I think about it, I would try another shade because I think that the formula is good. All right, guys, so there is the tier list. Again, we had a couple of products that for some reason I didn't put on here. I hope that this ended up being really helpful for you guys. I will leave a link to the Friends and Family 20% off sale in case you're interested in any of these items. I really hope it was helpful. Thank you for being here, and I will see you guys in my next one.